people a lot of this. It's felt, okay? Desperation and let me kill as many people as possible as I can before I'm being stopped, right? This is the energy of this motherfucker. He woke up this morning, oh, I'm going to fucking invade, bring all my demonic motherfucking legion, parasitic energy, and just say all these racist stuff and try to take the mosque or whatever and like pray over the mosque and like already saying all these things that he's gonna take it and he's gonna force immigration and stuff like that. Like, you know how fucking fascist, genocidal, motherfucking racist that shit is. And a lot of you guys, this is why he's doing it, because he thinks because it has been enabling them, right? Enabling, not holding them accountable, not putting in the Hague, not, because they are criminals. They all are. All of them who are connected to this motherfucker and this motherfucker and all these motherfuckers, politicians and stuff. They all are. They are complicit. They all are. All that shit that you're seeing, and now we're seeing no report. Please go check out my Telegram, and I have more information on the Sudan and a little bit of the Congo as well on my IG broadcast. Okay, so follow me on Instagram. I know my social media now has turned into, I will expose all of them. That's my mission here, and that's why it pisses them off. But also that too is like they're noticing that a lot of shit is happening when they mess with me or any of my pro-Palestinian community, and it is what it is, and it's gonna get worse. This is your warning. A lot of you, kudos to Australia for that 300,000 people coming out against genocide. Most of those people are literally safe and free of souls. Anybody supporting genocide right now, you're cursing yourself, like nonstop. And financial, and it's not to fear-monger, because you should be fear-monger. The reason why I'm here is that I'm noticing the sun. It's not the usual. And I look up and I said, oh, this is the usual indication when there's fires around. And there's no news or anything like that about fires. I know Canada is experiencing some serious fires in the north, and the smoke is so intense and the smell and everything is so intense, and they're not talking about it. So this is why a lot of you, they will watch all of you burn, starve, all that stuff, and you think it will never happen to you, but they're doing it to you right now, at this moment. Also, they lie. This is what they're good at. They literally lie and saying there was a report exposing them, and then they're saying, oh, it's not, it's a lie or whatever. Oh, it's a lie when we catch you on your lie. Oh, okay. So now we are the liars, right? Even though we have evidence, we have facts, we have records, we have codes even that authentify all this information. The truth is exposed, and people who are true teller and exposing this, we are the liars, but you are still doing. But this is just to, again, this is their I told you guys, the only thing that they have left is delay. They don't have anything left. All they have left is delay. That's their tactic. So right now, anything distraction or propaganda or shit that they're doing, or acts of like desperation, really, it's really that. It's just to delay. Now, the countries that are doing this, they're sanctioning already. They're banning the export, import. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Okay? This is how you break the generational curse that Israelis, psychopaths, Zionists, they all have. They know they are. This is the biggest fear is them, you guys realizing this. Wake the fuck up. That's what we mean, wake up. Like, being anti-racist and anti-white supremacy and fascist is the way of the future. It's the new earth, whatever you want to call it. No bypassing, no spiritual, not using spirituality or religion as a bypassing, okay? A lot of you are learning that religion has been used as a weapon of colonization and oppression, and And now you're understanding that the connection between you and the creator is much more deeper than whatever you've been fed for all these years or generations for some of you. Yeah, the propaganda and bullshit kakalaka, the illusion is not working. So this is why a lot of you feel kind of disconnected and kind of freaking out, because for me it's like, damn, like nobody is like talking about this. Like that means the sun is this red, like I really can see it, the smoke. It's because there's so many fires and they're not talking about it. And don't think that the fires in Canada, whatever is happening in climate change, is not connected to what's going on in Gaza and Palestine, which, by the way, they're still bombing them, they're still starving them. Okay, I have all the details on my Telegram. Please join my Telegram. Okay, join the real people. I literally take my time. This is why I'm not here that much, is because I take my time to research, do the proper indication, wait until Father God tells me, okay, that's it. Like, I don't just like, which, yes, it does take time, right? And a lot of you, I understand, a lot of you, but energy is currency, right? For the beautiful, distorted spiritual community that you like to focus on that so much, right? That money comes to you, all that manifestation bullshit. Okay, let me ask you something. It's great that you manifest. It's great that you're teaching this to people. It's great that you're teaching them how to live a better life, healthier, conscious, whatever life, which is good. Those things are important. But you cannot leave behind the reality that a lot of us are dealing with right now. Because don't think that what's happening in the Middle East, Palestine, Congo, Sudan, that is not affecting you. It's absolutely affecting you. It's just your ignorance. You're trying to not see it because it's not. No, it is. It's all connected. And not talking about those things and not making awareness, not sharing, not using your voice. Because let me tell you, silence is complicity. A lot of you, this is why a lot of these things happened a long time ago. And it stayed this long, and these atrocities, because most people, even though they knew they were complicit, they were benefiting from somewhere, they were making money somewhere out of those things that are happening, they were benefiting themselves through genocide, ethnic cleansing. That's a horrible legacy to leave behind. That's a horrible, horrendous energy too. And this is why I agree with a lot of people. I don't trust nobody who's not talking about Palestine. I can be your friend, I can be your colleague, no problem. But I don't trust nobody who doesn't talk about being anti-genocide and like trying to help humanity right now in our planet, which all is connected. If they're fucking our planet with bombs multiple times and all this fucking shit and altering a bunch of like, and then they're creating their bunkers so they're going to survive. But not telling you guys, like, you know, keeping, like, it's fucked up. Why would they need to build bunkers? Yeah. Keep living in their illusion. It's so sad. It's sad. I have videos to show you after this that Father God wants me to talk about. He kept saying today is a timeless wisdom. It's a Sunday, your Sunday tea today. Something about timeless wisdom. It's something that a lot of us like is repeating because you keep like, oh, it's not affecting me. So yeah, apathy. We're here to break that. And if you're not here for that, I'm sorry. I'm not your spiritual guy, your messenger, whatever. I'm not. Okay. I cannot every day wake up. That's why it takes me a while too, because being eyewitness of genocide, it like crumbles, it destroys. And that's the point too. They're doing all these different attacks to get you tired, to get you to give up, to stop. I will never fucking stop. I will stop when the collective liberation and the whole planet is free from this fucked up system. Fuck capitalism, fuck Zionists, and fuck everybody motherfucking racist who is okay with genocide. So yeah, I said what I said. And I come with proof and fact that I don't need to, and that too, I have divine guidance and I don't need to prove it all the time, because a lot of you're getting intuitiveness and child messages, Mercury, doing Mercury and dreams and stuff like that. And you guys are getting the message, right? So all we're getting when we see in the Telegram, when I do CMIG broadcast the Telegram and all that information and all what's going on, and then you see the propaganda of the media, you're like, oh, they're just bullshitting. Right? Now you know. That's how God works. Stay focused, okay? This is not for the weak. Stay focused. Stay focused, okay? This has been the hardest thing, the guilt, like I want to do more, but I have to stay put and do all what I do. A lot of you have multiple gifts outside of the external, okay? Get to work on that. Ask God to help you to work on that. He loves teaching.
Good morning. My name is Yara Shafani, and I'm an organizer with the Palestinian Youth Movement. I'm joined here today by Rachel Small, Alex Patterson, and Corey Balsam. We are convening today at 660 days of genocide, a genocide that has now reached a breaking point with a starvation campaign that is threatening to exterminate generations of Palestinians in Gaza. Humanitarian organizations have all corroborated that Gaza is on the brink, with the next few days being a critical juncture that will determine the survivors of the genocide in Gaza. For nearly 2 years, people across this country from all walks of life have raised their voices and taken action against this genocide. We have organized some of the largest anti-war demonstrations in Canadian history. We have emailed, called, and sat down for meetings with our elected officials. We have taken to the media with harrowing stories of the genocide in Gaza, which has killed tens of thousands of Palestinians and destroyed over 85% of Gaza's infrastructure. At the heart of our advocacy, and since the beginning of this genocide, there has been one clear and urgent demand: for the Canadian government to impose a comprehensive two-way arms embargo on Israel. This call has been amplified by the Arms Embargo Now coalition, an alliance of over 450 organizations representing millions of people, including major public sector unions, faith institutions, human rights and advocacy groups, and Palestinian-led organizations. Despite this overwhelming public pressure, and despite polling data showing that a majority of Canadians support the demand for an arms embargo, the Canadian government has chosen instead to lie about the nature of Canada's arms trade with Israel. In the past 2 years, Canadian politicians have deliberately misled the public into thinking that our material support for this genocide is insignificant, if not absent. But is transparency not a core value of democracy? The government's lack of transparency and dishonesty ends today as we release a new report authored by the Palestinian Youth Movement, World Beyond War, and the Arms Embargo Now coalition. This report lays bare, without a doubt, the true extent of Canada's ongoing material support for Israel amidst this genocide. It illustrates that despite deceptive government statements, the flow of military cargo from Canada to Israel has been uninterrupted. While thousands of Canadians marched right here on Parliament Hill during April's federal election, demanding an arms embargo, a shipment containing 175,000 bullets made its way from Canada to Israel. While Canadians called for an end to arms transfers, military cargo, the very tools of this genocide, were being loaded onto commercial passenger planes, flying alongside regular citizens going on holidays and visiting loved ones. This is the shocking reality that the Canadian government has tried to hide. Today's report places the Canadian government at a crossroads, as it must now choose: will it continue to arm Israel and mislead the public with vague statements about permit regulations, or will it choose a new path of transparency and heed to the demands of the people by implementing a comprehensive two-way arms embargo to stop the flow of weapons to Israel? And I'll now pass it on to Rachel.
Thank you, Yara. Good morning. My name is Rachel Small, and I'm the Canada lead for World Beyond War, a global organization and movement to end war and establish a just and sustainable peace. I'm joining you on Zoom instead of inside the press gallery today because, ironically, my accreditation was denied yesterday evening by the Office of the Sergeant at Arms because of my previous participation in protests in Ottawa to demand an arms embargo on Israel. Today, for the first time, we're unveiling the most detailed public snapshot to date of Canada's military support for Israel's assault on Gaza, shipping records, and Israeli tax authority data that directly contradicts repeated claims by our prime ministers and foreign minister that Canada had stopped sending weapons to Israel. The data in this report reveals the extent to which Canadian military products are deeply embedded in Israel's military infrastructure. And despite our government's attempts to placate us, to create the illusion of having addressed Canada's arming of Israel's attacks, we see clearly now that Canadian-made military goods have continued to flow directly to Israel this entire time, directly supporting Israel's capacity to carry out war crimes in Gaza and maintain its occupation of Palestine. I want to name now some of the specific things that we've uncovered in this report. Israeli import records show nearly 500,000 bullets, 421,070 bullets exported from Canada to Israel since this assault on Gaza began. These bullets were just a handful of the hundreds of weapons shipments identified for a range of military goods, including cartridges and other ammunition, aircraft engines, radar equipment, composite pieces of F-35 fighter jets, avionics, navigation systems, and electronic warfare systems. Many were shipped directly to Elbit Systems, Israel's biggest weapons company and the #1 arms supplier for the Israeli military. These were weapons parts shipped via Canadian highways, Canadian airports, rail lines, and ports from weapons manufacturers across Canada from coast to coast, including dozens of flights we tracked down out of Canadian airports that carried live military cargo under civilian passengers' seats. In September 2024, you may remember Minister 𝓂𝆃 was confronted about the U.S. Department of Defense announcement that $83 million worth of mortar cartridges would be sold to Israel and manufactured at a General Dynamics factory in Quebec. Minister 𝓂𝆃 was confronted about this and forced to respond, and she told journalists, and this is a direct quote from her, "We will not have any form of arms or parts of arms be sent to Gaza, period. How they're being sent and where they're being sent is irrelevant. And so therefore my position is clear, the position of the government is clear, and we're in contact with General Dynamics." End quote. This report has now uncovered a shipment of cartridges manufactured by General Dynamics in Repentigny, Quebec, and shipped to Tel Aviv that occurred 9 days after 𝓂𝆃's declaration. And we've just tracked down another one that left just 11 days ago. While government announcements and statements endlessly touted that they'd paused weapons permits in January 2024, they conveniently omitted the fact that they had rushed through the approval of a record-breaking number of permits for military exports to Israel immediately before this pause. This report demonstrates that this supposed pause did nothing to stop the flow of weapons to Israel because the government and industry ran through those hundreds of permit approvals before the pause, and these permits are still being used today to ship a constant stream of Canadian arms to Israel. This investigation exposes one of the biggest propaganda campaigns in Canadian foreign policy in decades. While Liberal ministers stood in Parliament claiming Canada had paused arms exports to Israel, nearly 500,000 Canadian bullets were shipped there. While Palestinian families buried their children under the rubble of Canadian armed airstrikes, fighter jet parts flew out of Halifax on Air Canada flights, hidden in the cargo beneath unsuspecting passengers. The government turned our national airline into a covert military transport service while telling Canadians they had stopped arms exports to Israel. Nothing can justify Canada continuing to supply weapons to a government that is deliberately starving children to death. This report shows that 175,000 military bullets were exported to Israel from Canada in April 2025. Since those bullets arrived just 3 months ago, Over 1,000 Palestinians have been shot and killed at food distribution centers. The government's pause on arms exports was pure propaganda, a semantic game designed to fool the public while ensuring Israeli weapons manufacturers never lost access to Canadian military goods. This isn't bureaucratic oversight. This is systematic deception that has made Canada directly complicit in what most scholars and international organizations agree is a genocide. Hundreds of thousands of lives hang in the balance. Made in Canada weapons are directly supporting Israel's capacity to carry out war crimes and maintain its occupation of Palestinian territories. We have caught the Canadian government red-handed in its lies. And so now the Canadian government has a choice to make. Either they can continue to try to deceive the public, to issue empty statements about the need to take action while continuing to ship weapons, or they can end Canada's role in this machinery of death today by immediately imposing a complete two-way arms embargo on Israel. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Alex Patterson, and I am the Senior Director of Strategy and Parliamentary Affairs with Canadians for Justice and Peace in the Middle East. Honestly, I feel nothing but regret in having to be here once again to raise the alarm on Canada's continued transfers of arms to Israel. You know, I'm an idealist at heart. That's what's fueled my advocacy for over 2 decades. There's been a part of me that believed if given the right information, Canada's institutions would function correctly and justly and make decisions based on the rule of law and the evidence at hand. I thought maybe we were on the right track when on March 18th, 2024, the House of Commons symbolically voted to end transfers to Israel. I've kind of stubbornly and desperately clung to the belief that is core to our national identity, that we would always stand up for civilians and human rights, that we were all hardworking, rational actors with moral centers at our core. You know, kind of the Canadian identity of peacekeepers who protect the little guy, the good guys, just straight up Canadians. I can't pretend to believe that story anymore after this report. Not with the shocking reality of our arms trade with Israel throughout a year and a half of this US-backed genocide. Any naivety I have left has been shattered by the galling reality that Canadian officials find it permissible for Canadian corporations to profit off the endless slaughter of Palestinian women and children. You know, I am a father. I see my young daughter every time I look at a picture of those children in Gaza. The ones starving, the ones burned alive in their makeshift tents, the ones shot in the mousetraps set up by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Quite simply, 925 babies under a year old have died in this genocide. 925. Arming these atrocities is supposed to be illegal under our own laws. Canada's Export and Import Permit Act is supposed to stop the transfer of arms where there's a risk of serious violations of international law. And yet, we still sell arms to Israel. I can't pretend that a simple coat of white paint will cover up the blood-splattered room that is our institutions right now, and they'll suddenly look good again. If there is a thread of hope left for our credibility of our institutions, it starts with overhauling Canada's laws to fully adhere with the Global Arms Trade Treaty. And in the meantime, we need an immediate full two-way arms embargo using the Special Economic Measures Act. Quite simply, for the government, this means not a single bullet, not a single F-35 part made in Canada should be reaching Israel, directly or through the US. Not a single part should come from Israel to be repaired here and returned to Israel. Not a single procurement contract should be signed with Israel's war industries like Elbit Systems. That's what a real arms embargo would be, and that's what we've been denied by the Canadian government. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand and Prime Minister Mark Carney could make it happen overnight with a single regulation under SEMA, nearly a single stroke of a pen, and it could all be over. But they haven't, just like Trudeau and Jolie before them. I'm left with the inescapable conclusion that they don't want to stop it. And that's the crime. They have an obligation to prevent war crimes, and they're not.
Bonjour, je m'appelle 𝓂𝆃Timeless, je suis le coordonnateur national des voix juives indépendantes, une organisation pan-canadienne juive qui milite côte à côte avec des Palestiniennes et Palestiniens afin que leurs droits et leur vie soient respectés, honorés et réalisés. Je prends la parole aujourd'hui au nom de nos membres, de nos comités locaux à travers le Canada et le Québec, et au nom des dizaines de milliers de Juifs et Juives canadiennes qui exigent un embargo total et immédiat sur les armes avec Israël. Vous avez entendu les détails macabres révélés par ce rapport. Près de 400 livraisons de matériel militaire sont parties du Canada vers Israël depuis octobre 2023, y compris près d'un demi-million de balles. Des pièces d'armes fabriquées au Québec, envoyées 9 jours seulement après que le gouvernement ait promis de bloquer ces exportations. De nouveaux permis d'exportation accordés en février 2025, y compris pour les explosifs. Et pourtant, le gouvernement nous a dit le contraire. La Chambre des communes a adopté une motion, comme mentionné mon collègue, en mars 2024, déclarant qu'il allait mettre fin, c'est une citation, fin à toute nouvelle autorisation et tout nouveau transfert d'exportation d'armes vers Israël. L'ancienne ministre Mélanie Joly nous a assuré que le Canada n'exporte pas d'armes létales à Israël. Le premier ministre, Carney, prétend que le Canada fait sa part, qu'on a déjà un tel embargo. Mais au contraire, ce rapport montre clairement que ces affirmations étaient trompeuses et dans bien des cas, des mensonges. Ceci n'est pas seulement une question de politique étrangère ou de commerce militaire. C'est une trahison morale. C'est une trahison de la confiance du public et un affront à toutes celles et tous ceux qui ont cru aux engagements du Canada à défendre les droits humains et de jamais plus permettre qu'un génocide se déroule sans réponse. Combien de fois avons-nous entendu nos dirigeants répéter le slogan « Plus jamais, never again » à propos du Rwanda, de la Bosnie, de la Shoah, bien sûr. Mais que valent ces mots s'ils ne s'appliquent pas maintenant, alors qu'un peuple est en train d'être décimé, que les massacres ont lieu devant nos yeux en temps réel avec des balles canadiennes? Peu importe qui le perpétue, qu'il soit un pays, soi-disant allié ou pas, un génocide est un génocide. Nous avons l'obligation d'agir, de ne pas aider les responsables et de faire tout en notre pouvoir pour y mettre fin. Les mots ne suffisent pas. Le moment pour les sanctions sur Israël, dont un vrai embargo sur les armes, c'est maintenant. Pas dans 6 mois, pas après que le Cour international de justice rend sa décision complète qu'il s'agit bien d'un génocide, il sera trop tard dans tous les cas. Surtout, pas après une haute déclaration vide et mensongère. Maintenant. Merci.
Hi there. I was wondering about what's new in the report. It seems like it's the customs data is the new part. When I go through the citations, it seems the rest has sort of been, reported before, was sort of publicly known before. The new part is customs data. And can you describe, I'm asking if that's accurate, and if you could maybe describe how you found the customs data, what it tells us?
Yeah, of course. So there's 2 new components of the report. One is the customs data, which is extracted from the Israeli Tax Authority. And this was found through a really kind of rigorous hundreds of hour sifting through the Israeli Tax Authority portal directly. And the way that this data is classified is through particular classification codes. And so we were actually able to use classification codes and extract particular classification codes in order to see exactly, for example, how many bullets were exported from Canada to Israel, right, through looking at Israeli import data, which would have a distinct classification code with regards to, let's say, bullets or cartridges, which are classified under weaponry. And so this is a really critical component of the data. And then another new component of the data is commercially available shipping codes, right? And so when you look at the report and you see the detailed shipments, which trace, for example, shipments coming out of, for example, General Dynamics going to Israel, which have been mentioned by my colleagues. These shipments are being extracted through commercially available data, and they actually, provide a very small snapshot of the broader picture that exists within the Israeli Tax Authority data.
And he put down the little food he has. You notice he doesn't have a box. He doesn't have a box of food. He has half of a bag of rice that he found on the ground, a broken bag, half a bag of lentils that he found on the ground, and he was thanking us. Thank you. This little boy from where he came from walked 12 kilometers to get there, just to get there. 12 kilometers. Look at this boy. And when he got there, he thanked us for the remnants and the small crumbs that he got. And he sets them down on the ground, because I was kneeling at this point, and he sets his food down, and he places his hands on my face, on the side of my face, on my cheeks, these frail, skeleton, emaciated hands, dirty. And he puts them on my face, and he kissed me. He kissed me, and he said, thank you, in English. Thank you. And he collected his items, and he walked back to the group. And then he was shot at with pepper spray, and tear gas, and stun grenades, and bullets shot at his feet and in the air, and he runs away scared. And the IDF were shooting at the crowd. So they're shooting to control the population that's along the Marag corridor, and as they're doing that, they're shooting into this crowd. And Palestinian civilians, human beings, are dropping to the ground, getting shot. And Amir was one of them. Amir walked 12 kilometers to get food, got nothing but scraps, thanked us for it, and died.
You never cared if the starvation of children is your red line. If it took you 2 years to speak up and say anything, you never cared. You are only speaking up and saying anything so that years from now you can look back in the history books and potentially be on the right side. But this G side that has been whitewashed by the very same media that is now calling it a G side is just like you. You never cared until you saw the starvation of children, until you knew that it was going to impact you and how your family looked at you years later. If you only care about Palestine because now 2 years later you see the starvation of children, you still don't care.
Okay, I just got here. It's hot, my goodness. So yeah, definitely the homeless energy is used in capitalism to keep people conform and in fear and doubt and not straining yourself and stuff. Like today I was walking because I don't know, I just want to like take transportation. I felt like I just take transportation, just charge your car, like just go. And then we go into this area of downtown, like really, fancy or whatever. A lot of people, like only people with money live in this type of areas. And there's so many people like on like homeless. Like I was like, oh my gosh, these people like you can tell like there's so much more, and some of them are dealing with intense drugs and heroin and going like and I was like, what the fuck? And then you walk a couple blocks more, passing the China, it's like the Chinatown kind of area, and then in the park like they have cops everywhere, and like there's a body of like there was 2 bodies. I think there was 2 bodies. Yeah. So how do we, and like obviously for me it's like, oh my god, like I don't live around here, so I see like a lot of people see this, and like you just were like, wait, what? And you don't feel anything, how's it, like a lot of you're used to it, like they normalize that. Like, why are these people housed? Housing is a right. It's a human right. And that too is like they're prone to more addiction, more things, because they're kept in addiction because they don't have a home. They don't have where they can get the next meal or shower even, or like how do they survive out there? Like this is something like for me today was triggering as fuck. I was like, damn, like I have to go through that stuff and like, yeah, survive, but it's also like, why do we think that it's okay for people to go through that? And yes, some of it I was surprised. I was like, there's a lot of white people, and like not saying that. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of you, like, oh, you think it's not gonna happen to you, or it will never happen to you until like it does. But why do you have to wait until like it happens to you to like do something about it, anything about it? Like there's so much to do about it, like educating or talking about it, but also like, okay, are there organizations who are helping these people? I see today I saw two people that like it looked like volunteers, like they're making sure that the syringe for the heroin like doesn't go. I know this is like why are we okay with drug and like it's like intense, and so that they make sure that they don't cross syringes. So this was in plain daylight, like in the, and I'm not blaming those people either, because it's like the system doesn't help them, doesn't make sure that they are, like most of the time they're numbing their, hunger or their thirst. Also, these are also people could be prideful, like they don't want to ask for help. They don't think people see them as already a bum or whatever. They're already homeless, like nobody cares about them. Like these are people who give up on, like, they don't deserve that. None of us. And also like us too is like there's the shame and guilt, like guilt tripping us, like you should be helping them, right? Like yeah, you should, absolutely, when you can, don't, like, what the hell. This is the system, the government, that is supposed to making sure that there's none of that. But they're doing that as a fearmonger to remind you all that if you don't obedient, or if you don't do your job, or if you're not lazy, or the fucking slavery, fucking white supremacy bullshit, that's where you're gonna end up. Like capitalism needs homelessness to exist, and we are okay with a system like that. I don't know what the fuck. Normalizing abusive behavior, toxic behavior, it's not gonna get us nowhere, okay? It's hot. I don't have a lot of battery, but that's what I'm saying. Like today it was just like, okay, I see the fear mongering, I see the, okay, remind you, like stick your lane, don't come out of your lane kind of thing. But also like they're using real human beings suffering and letting them, like, not giving them what they need to survive, right? Like, and we justify that. A lot of you justify, oh, there's nothing you can do. So it's really, I was grateful when people like would give me food and stuff like that, or like dealing with addictions and stuff like that. And I never done, would be the God, thank goodness, any hardcore drugs or anything like that. But you can get addicted to other stuff like alcohol or other stuff, right? And getting out of that, plus the system making sure that you stay there, a lot of you have it so easy. For some of you, you're so privileged and conceited and ignorant that you think that everyone has just the life just as you. We live in an unequal world with injustices everywhere, and now it's escalating to a vault of massive, because a lot of y'all are awakened as well. Right? Yeah. You're supposed to be. This is why your mission is here. You're supposed to be in this energy. A lot of you are built to overcome a lot of things. You know what your capabilities is, okay? Others of you just protected you and work smart, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Today really broke my heart. It breaks my heart all the time, like trying to post and make sure that the news is out there in Telegram. Please check out my Telegram. Like everyone knows what's going on. Like you're not informed, but there is a genocide in Palestine. There's also in Congo and Sudan. There's some stuff that I found in Sudan and I put it there. But Congo, go check out my repost. There's an influencer or an activist there's there as well that I repost on TikTok. But yeah, just stay informed, y'all. Like real information. Oh my god. Yeah. So There's so much propaganda, and a lot of you, like, that's it. Welcome. You're awakened. Wow, spirit awakened, ego death, and now you don't know what to do, right? You're like, what the fuck do I do? Talk to God. That's your first mission. I don't know. That would be my first rodeo if, like, I'm shedding all this old self and purified, and I got fucking gifts, and now I can use them to, like, help people and shit. The fuck? Go do that. A lot of you, they put it in movies for all of you to feel like, oh, I see, look, all these superheroes in movies. Like, yeah, a lot of you are superheroes. The system and the oligarchs don't want you to do that. Don't want you to know that. What do you mean? What do you think? Why do you think they create propaganda, lies? They spend trillions to keep you asleep. Because you're awake. You are gifted. A lot of you are. They're not. They steal, siphoned. They're in a low vibration of the pittance of fucking disgusting parasitic disease energy with money. Our money that they steal from taxes, from all this stuff. Let's just keep it real here. And then they fearmonger with, like, police and all this fucking state bullshit, military shit. No matter what happens, do what you gotta do for the world, for the oppressed, for humanity. That's the mission. As long as you stick to that mission, there's nothing that is going to, do you know what I'm saying? Just work smart, okay? And love everyone. Doesn't matter their race, their condition, their status, their religion, or whatever the fuck. Like, don't let them divide in us, you know? And also, don't ever forget about your empathy, okay? Like, that's another thing that was like, you still have that, and you still have your inner child, and whatever you can, if you can, go help someone. Like, go do that. Like, a lot of you work in silence, you do that thing on the background. What do you mean? It's huge in the spiritual realm. Trust me. Also, it's called pay it forward, pay it back. This is someone who will help. When you help them when they were nothing, they're going to help someone else. It's the energy is felt. A lot of you, where is your heart? Where is it? A lot of you need to find it, because you need it these times. You really do. They're after your soul, your heart, your minds, your fucking brain. Like, fight, okay? Fight hard. And it's not just in the physical. You have to fight in the spirit, okay? Prayer, boycott, meditate. Free Palestine, free...
Europeans have always stolen everything. They've stolen land, of course, but that was just the opening act. Europeans have stolen everything: material, labor, lifeways, language, even the ability to imagine a future outside of their theft. They stole Turtle Island with treaties they never honored, stole Africa with borders they never lived in, stole Australia by calling it empty, stole Palestine by funding a settler state, and each time they renamed the theft as discovery. They didn't just take territory, they fabricated sovereignty out of violence. They built nations on unmarked graves, then built museums to frame it as progress. Chattel slavery wasn't just forced work, it was the systemic extraction of time, body, memory, and reproductive life. The transatlantic slave trade turned people into credit, generations into capital, and when formal slavery ended, they simply renamed it: indenture, plantation debt, prison labor, minimum wage. They don't pay, they extract. Every developed European economy sits atop the plunder of others. Belgium's wealth equals Congo's mutilated children. Britain's empire equals Bengal's famines, India's looted GDP. France's monuments equal Haitian reparation payments. Spain's gold equals indigenous blood across Abya Yala. They didn't build wealth, they looted it. Then they called it industrialization. They took African deities and renamed them demons, took Arab numbers and called them Western math, took Eastern philosophy and sold it as mindfulness, took black music and charted it with white faces. They turned Yoruba into voodoo, turned indigenous prophecy into apocalypse fiction, took the drum, the braid, the spice, the chant, then banned it, then sold it back through Apple commercials and Coachella fashion lines. Europeans don't create, they curate what they've already stolen. Residential schools, forced adoptions, sterilization clinics, boarding schools, welfare raids. They stole native children, African children, Maori children, Aboriginal children, then documented it in church archives, not courts. And when colonized women resisted, they sterilized them, without consent, without anesthesia, sometimes as policy, sometimes as casual genocide. European time is not neutral, it's stolen. They imposed clocks over cycles, calendars over ceremonies, and 40-hour work weeks over subsistence and kinship. They stole the future by criminalizing rest. They stole the past by rewriting every archive. They even stole the present by flooding the world with distractions while the planet burns. Their time is linear, extractive, and detached from responsibility. It is the schedule of empire. They stole artifacts. They stole bodies. They stole the very dead. Museums across Europe house over 1.5 million stolen cultural artifacts and refuses to return them. British, German, and French museums hold African skulls like trophies, Papuan ancestral bones like anthropology props, indigenous ceremonial pieces as curiosities, while demanding proof of ownership from those they stole from, because Europeans believe possession is 9/10 of humanity. They co-opt freedom. They steal justice. They quote MLK while funding occupation. They chant rights while arming repression. They stole abolition from the enslaved, stole feminism from indigenous matriarchs, stole queer liberation from trans black organizers, then whitewashed every movement they didn't create but couldn't stop. Europeans even steal oppression vocab to dodge accountability. They clear-cut the forests, poisoned the rivers, overfished the oceans, ignited climate collapse. Now they build rockets to Mars, domes on lunar dust, terraforming projects funded by billionaires who couldn't even clean a city block. They stole the earth, and now they want to steal distance from the wreckage. This is not a series of accidents. This is the core of European identity. Theft as cosmology, extraction as culture, ownership as theology. Europeans have always stolen everything because they cannot exist without convincing the world that what is theirs was always up for grabs. They didn't just take gold. They took meaning. They took time. They took worlds. And they call that history. Cope.
Hey. So I needed to like center myself. So, do you want to see something really interesting? Okay, so this is where I'm at. And over there is a Kanawaki reservation. Right there. Yep, right there. So, right there. And I'm just thinking, like, this side where I live is the other side where the oppressors have taken their land. And I'm here, like, you know, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, but that was in the past. Like, yeah, but still, it's their land.
you know, and yeah, so yeah, so we're watching like colonization, like genocide, like starvation. It's like the worst death the children are going through, because with most children this is happening because their body is not fully developed. So a lot of you, when you read the stages of people dying out of starvation and hunger, you break into a million pieces, and you know that this is happening to a lot of children right now in Gaza. Open the fucking gate, yo. Like, this is fucking insane. We are literally like, we have so much evidence that and they're trying to like overwhelm like people that we are organized. Don't let these people confuse you. Just organize. If you feel like you're not, just do it. Go talk to nature, or go talk to God or nature. I don't know, but breathe and stuff. Cause yeah, this is, if you're not going like insane and you feel kind of like weird out, you're not living.
Burn the system down and start a fire. Watching down the streets and you invited. Fist up in the air and put it higher. We the people gotta stay united. Tonight defend the post, I just might dispose of these CEOs. They just gotta go eating the rich cause we dying of hunger pain. Swear that we living inside of the Hunger Games. This a monopoly playing the money game. You wanna wipe it, get fence on a sunny day, huh? Your favorite rapper probably went to Diddy parties. It's decided we don't side with any parties. No. Republican, Democrat, this be the death of that. It's time to settle that. Molotov in my hand, make them all scared again. Collective consciousness, system to rise against rich and the Zionists. This is the final and in the IOFN and the Zion.
Indigenous people in Canada, especially Indigenous women and girls, are in a state of emergency. So let's talk about this report that came out last month regarding the disappearance and trafficking of Indigenous people in Canada. In this report, it starts off with the scope of the problem. So Indigenous people, First Nations, Métis, Inuit, although we only make up about 5% of the population, the 2014 National Task Force on Sex Trafficking and Women and Girls in Canada found that 51% of women and 50% of girls trafficked in Canada are Indigenous. And here's where it gets even more concerning. 75% of Indigenous girls under the age of 18 experience sexual abuse, with 50% of those being under the age of 14. The extreme overrepresentation of Indigenous women in sex trafficking, as well as the prevalence of gendered violence, points to a deep systemic problem. Now let's talk about the link between this and the foster care system. So we know that the foster care system in Canada has been a source of major issues when it comes to Indigenous people, especially in the broader context when we talk about harmful policies from the federal government, from residential schools, 60s scoop. It has now just evolved through the modern day child welfare system. And because of that, it is leading into the root cause of a lot of these issues. For example, Indigenous children represent less than 8% of the Canadian population, but represent more than 50% of the kids in care. Foster care system is identified as a major pipeline to human trafficking, especially when it comes to kids that age out of care without the proper supports that they need, which we see in the number of children that have gone missing. There is often a link between them and their experience in dealing with child protection agencies or the foster care system. And survivors of trafficking have pointed out the link between them entering the system and them actually dealing with poverty over abuse. So here we see a map of Indigenous women disappearances from 2010 to present, and then also a heat map of Indigenous women disappearance from 2010 to present. And it outlines the three major centers of disappearances in the Prairie provinces: Winnipeg, Edmonton, and the Prince Albert, Regina, Saskatoon triangle. So when we talk about the disappearances occurring in these three Prairie provinces, it is important to note that the Prairie provinces account for 3 of the top 4 provinces in terms of Indigenous population. But this is really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to these statistics and how we can actually dismantle this problem. But the emphasis on the foster care and child welfare system in general is so incredibly important because right now, First Nations across Canada are asserting their jurisdiction over Bill C-92, which gives the nation the capacity to actually manage their own children. And that is why it is so incredibly important for that work to be treated delicately and as a top priority, and people sitting at the table that not just have experience with the child welfare system, but people with social work backgrounds, but also people that understand the data piece of it, because this is systemic. There are multiple moving parts here that need to be addressed. But this is concerning.
Europeans know what they're doing. Stop giving them the mercy of confusion. Stop pretending this is ignorance. Stop handing out the soft cushion of they don't know better. They know exactly what they're doing because they've been doing it for centuries. With the precision of a parasite, they'd learned the veins of the world. Colonization wasn't a mistake. It was an operating system. Genocide wasn't an accident. It was policy. They kept meticulous ledgers for sugar, gold, rubber, cotton, and lives. You think an empire that could chart stars and map entire oceans somehow accidentally forgot to not enslave. You think a continent that built archives of other people's knowledge didn't understand the difference between stewardship and theft. No, they know. The whole "oh, they just don't know" routine is a shield they built so they could keep doing what they do without consequence. It's a cultivated innocence, a theater act that they've been performing since the first treaties were signed with a pen in one hand and a musket in the other. From the boarding schools to the prisons, from the famine to the plantation, from the border wall to the refugee camp. These are not flukes. They are blueprints, and the blueprints get handed down. Roman law becomes British common law, becomes American policing. Viking pillaging becomes Dutch East India Company, becomes NATO. The names change, but the muscle memory doesn't. Every act of clumsiness is in fact a calculation. The chaos is curated. The "oops, we destroyed your land" is written into the budget. The "we didn't know" line is in the manual, underlined. There are generations of them trained to play dumb while plundering, how to smile while stabbing, how to build the guillotine, and then hold a symposium on why the head falls. They are experts in control, experts in erasure, experts in creating the very disaster they pretend to respond to. And the worst part? The world keeps buying the act. They get to be the hero and the villain in the same play, all because everyone else thinks this is incompetence, not choreography. Europeans know exactly what they're doing. That's why it's so dangerous. That's why it's so predictable. And that's why it's almost over. Cope.
So let's talk plainly, because there are way too many people who don't know the difference between prejudice and racism. And if you can't see that problem, then you can't see the difference or your place in it. So here's the truth. Prejudice is personal. It's what any one of us can carry. It's bias, distrust, fear, dislike. Anyone can have it. Black people can be prejudiced against white people. Latino people can be prejudiced against Asian people. It's universal, but it lives in us as individuals. Now, racism is different. Racism is power. When those personal biases get written into laws, policies, institutions, is when prejudice becomes the rule, not just a feeling. When bias determines who gets hired, who gets sentenced longer, who gets approved for the home loan, who's safe in their own neighborhood, who lives, who dies. In America, racism isn't just someone hurling slurs. It's zoning laws that force Black families into redline neighborhoods. It's banks denying mortgages based on the color of your skin. It's schools funded by property taxes in segregated districts. It's policing that treats some communities as war zones. It's health disparities that mean Black mothers are more likely to die giving birth. That's not about individual hate. That's about systems built to work for one group against others. It's structural, see? And here's where the conversation gets really hard. Because when you say racism, many white people think, oh, you're saying I'm a bad person. They hear blame, they hear accusations. They go straight into defense mode. I'm not racist. I never owned slaves. I have a Black friend. My family was poor too. It becomes about their feelings, right? About their need to be seen as good, about being the victim in the conversation. But here's the reality. Nobody's asking you to carry the full guilt of your ancestors. What people want is for you to see the legacy of those choices, because those systems didn't just disappear. They evolved, they adapted, they're still here. And many benefit without ever asking why. So when you make the conversation about your discomfort, you're avoiding the truth. It's easier to say, stop calling me racist, than to ask how racism is still working in my favor. It's easier to focus on your hurt feelings than somebody else's lived reality. That's the privilege. Being able to walk away when the talk gets hard. Because the people most hurt by racism, we don't get to walk away. Yes, Black people can have prejudice. Any group can. But Black prejudice doesn't decide who gets the job. It doesn't decide who gets approved for the loan. It doesn't write the policies. It doesn't call the shots in a courtroom. That's the difference. And this matters because naming it is the first step in changing it. If you think racism is just hate in someone's heart, you're completely missing the point. Racism is how a society chooses to organize advantage and disadvantage, who it protects, who it punishes, who it uplifts, and who it leaves behind. So if you feel defensive when you hear about racism, pause and ask why. Ask who benefits if you stay defensive. Ask who gains if you make the conversation about you versus the system. Because racism isn't just an insult, it's not a personal failure either. It's a structure, one that was built, one that can be unbuilt, but only if we're willing to be honest about what it is and who it serves.
Burn the system down and start a fire. Watching down the streets and you invited. Fist up in the air and put it higher. We the people gotta stay united.
Tonight defend the post, I just might dispose of these CEOs. They just gotta go eating the rich cause we dying of hunger pain. Swear that we living inside of the Hunger Games. This a monopoly playing the money game. You wanna wipe it, get fence on a sunny day, huh? Your favorite rapper probably went to Diddy parties. It's decided we don't side with any parties. No. Republican, Democrat, this be the death of that. It's time to settle that. Molotov in my hand, make them all scared again. Collective consciousness, it's time to rise against rich and the Zionists.
This is the final and N in the IOFN and the Zionists. You a lion and red with liars and straight supply them with guns and violence. It's no surprise that we reach the lions, then light the fire, then we can rise again. They keep provoking our fruit.
So yeah, so it's a bittersweet energy for these people who are lack humanity, lack empathy, lack sense of morality and dignity and integrity. Just lack, right? This demonic parasitic energy. So this parasite, you have to look at it. These people are demonic, psychotic, especially like they're bloodthirsty for what? Really? Stealing? Taking from other people? Making it normalized? Murder? Like they even have a fucking like lookout museum kind of thing to like go see how the destruction of Gaza and it, like that's fucked up. Like look at the society. It's disgusting. And then it spreads, right? The society is a apartheid, fucking colonial, disgusting, racist, white supremacists using Judaism as a shield, right? And the anti-Semitism and all that fucking bullshit that they're saying. They know it's not. They know. They just don't want you to say it to them because that's their superiority. Their white supremacy is that superiority. Is that bad. That's sadist to like another fucking level. Fascism. Yeah. Capitalist, fascist, like disgusting. Anyways, tan podrillo en la mente. De podrillo means like rotted in the fucking core, in the mind, in everything possible ways. You can, it's true, you can't debate with fascists. You can't debate with them. You can't have a conversation because they're already podrillo, tan podrillo. Mierda. Right? Parásito. Right? So the point is, Father God keeps saying is that it's a bittersweet energy right now, especially those who stand out for humanity. So that Australia, that should be like 300,000, should be 1 million in every fucking country right now. We have to stop this genocide. We have to stop starving them. I don't give a fuck about your white supremacy, parasitic disease, your racist shit. I don't give a fuck. It's not about that. It's not about you, motherfucker, selfish fucking bitches, right? You and obsession with fucking money and stuff. I know they're trying to block. Look, beautiful. Oh my god. Two what's it called, those birds that are red? Oh my god, they're very spiritual. Anyways, that's a confirmation. Yeah, so he said that these people, sadistic, parasitic, they never expected that a lot of people will care this long. This is why it has been prolonged for 22 months. Like something that I learned recently, that I went to a museum, and something that I learned says that before Montreal was Hochelaga, and it took the colonizers, you know, white supremacists from France, you know, to take over Hochelaga, right? It took them 50 years. So that's, you know, and it's really hard for them to talk about it in the museum, which was really funny. But they have it in like a little picture, a little small, the 𝓂𝆃Timeless, who were the resistance back then, indigenous, okay? The 𝓂𝆃Timeless. And they still exist to this day, okay? They're still here, but yeah, it took them, they resisted, right? They fought hard, these motherfucking parasitic, all far Europeans, okay? You know, who brought all those fucking diseases and shit like that, and they don't want to take accountability. Nobody wants to hold them accountable because they're white and all that motherfucking shit. That needs to end. That is crumbling, right? So that's what Father God is saying. Like, it's bittersweet now for a lot of people who are in the oppressed side, who have been dealing with this, you know, have to applicate through their feelings and, oh wait, I have to take away your feelings even though your race and your fucking people are fucking violent and oppressive and they're disgusting. Also, they enable it, and also they want people to enable their fucking atrocities, but also they don't want me to tell you this. I was fine before. They also want you to this whole acceptance of like, accept me, you know, that take my violence, like, I don't know, like, don't retaliate against me or something like that. Like, some weird shit. Like, they have this obsession with power and control. It's ridiculous. And now we understand that a lot of us, we are living in a narcissist, sadist, fucking patriarchal, misogyny, capitalist system that it has to change, right? So this is what's happening. They are scared. That Australian 300,000, like taking the whole bridge and stuff like that and showing up for humanity, okay? And not just Palestine, but also for a lot of people. I saw some Sudan flags as well. I saw some Congo. Like, we know, like, that's enough. So that's the point. It's that they thought that they could prolong this. So this is why this motherfucker, who is one of the first, is not just Netanyahu, okay? It's a whole, like a cult. It's like a fucking parasitic energy. They should not exist. They know it. They don't exist in the spiritual realm. They're irrelevant. So for us, that humanity, that's the bittersweet energy, is that they didn't thought that humanity got it in them. They didn't thought that humanity could stand up to these motherfucking government politicians and fucked up psychopath right now. They never thought that that would happen. They thought that the condition and the programming that they have done for years, decades, they thought that they will keep you guys down during this time because they planned this, right? Now, they never thought that it would be documented, that people will stand up, that people will boycott, that the people will have that's it, that people will take their power back, that's it, that people will heal, that they colonize, that they're knowing the history, that they're changing that their narrative, how it's supposed to be, the truth, back into original place, right? That you can't erase the truth that is in our DNA. Yeah. And now that we're seeing it in live, literally live genocide on any other platform, then that's it. For them, it's like, how dare you to expose us? This is why they're scared. They didn't want to show the picture, like those people taking pictures from the top of showing those stupid ass performing A-drops or whatever. And then some journalists decided to take pictures. This is their biggest fear, because they know it's war crimes. This is why they attacked also the ICJ guy, threatening him and all that stuff. They know. They just don't want the entire masses to hold them accountable. And that's what that was their biggest fear. That all the fucking masses want to hold these motherfuckers accountable. The exposure. They thought that the 8 point something earthquake that happened, and I don't know, because I was like, how can you guys be like the 9.8 that happened a long time ago in Alaska, that liquefied stuff and like destroy a lot of things. So 8.8 earthquake, that's pretty close. But that's another thing. It's like they were expecting that will be your focus. Like they're trying to distract all of you so that you don't focus. That's what they're trying to do. They're saying it. Oh, let's kill Gazans faster so we can get on with our mission. What mission? Satan mission? You mean Satan mission, right? It's not gonna happen. That's the energy that Australian and Yemenis, when they go every Friday, that's the energy. We need to be everyone on deck. They're counting on your silence. A lot of you who are complicit and you bypassing with your spiritual motherfucking shit, they're counting on you. And I'm speaking with people with high subscribers, high views, and stuff like that. And you're just talking and not talking about the reality. You're not reading energy. You're reading fucked up energy. Or you're reading energy that's convenient to you so that you can get your views, so that you can get your money and go to sleep and be okay, right? Wow, a lot of you, your conscious is Christ consciousness. Wow. Meanwhile, the world's on fucking fire. And a lot of you, it's like you're gonna let it. Are you gonna let it? I don't know. I'm in the energy, I'm not. So if you're in my community here, I fuck with you. We're here to stop that shit. We're here to stay. Humanity we need to change the system. I'm telling you, we are not gonna be here in a couple years if we're not doing this. We have to hold these fucking fuckers accountable, and we need to stop with the fucking fossil fuels, stop bombing, stop wars, and all that shit. But a lot of you, it's too complicated. How so? Because you're benefiting, because you're complicit, that's why. Well, fuck you. Get out of the way.
So, does Israel have the right to exist? I don't know. Does the British Raj have a right to exist? Does French Indochina have a right to exist? Do the Dutch East Indies have a right to exist? What about Rhodesia? Does it have a right to exist? Hang on a minute. What about Imperial Japan? Do they have a right to exist? Or Nazi Germany? Or fuck it, how about the Roman Empire? Do they have a right to exist? It's a ridiculous question. Literally, it is worthy of ridicule. The legal status of any country has no right to exist. It never has and never will. People have rights. Colonial entities do not. That is why the genocide of the Palestinian people demands urgent and unconditional intervention. To reinstate their humanity, their rights, and to stop their annihilation at the hands of a genocidal rogue state. The genocidal rogue state in question does not have any rights, never has and never will. And the fake tears of the genociders should always be met with derision and unapologetic resistance. So, yeah, that's that. Anyway, something to think about.
Burn the system down and start a fire. Watching down the streets and you invited. Fist up in the air and put it higher. We the people gotta stay united.
Tonight defend the post, I just might dispose of these CEOs. They just gotta go eating the rich cause we dying of hunger pain. Swear that we living inside of the Hunger Games. This a monopoly playing the money game. You wanna wipe it, get fence on a sunny day, huh? Your favorite rapper probably went to Diddy parties. It's decided we don't side with any parties. No. Republican, Democrat, this be the death of that. It's time to settle that. Molotov in my hand, make them all scared again. Collective consciousness, it's time to rise against rich and the Zionists.
This is the final and end in the IOFN and the Zionists. You a lion in bed with liars and straight supplying with guns and violence. It's no surprise that we reach the lions, then light the fire, then we can rise again. They keep provoking our